Hello guys, I'm Akshat Gupta, your AWS trainer. Today we are going to discuss about simple storage service, which is also known as S3 storage. So you might be wondering what exactly is a S3 storage, how this is different from your EBS or your instant storage, which we have already discussed. So all your queries would be resolved in this particular lecture. You would be able to create S3 storage. You would be all the points would be discussed, and we would be covering simple storage services in detail. So simple storage service is also known as S3 storage. So one S is from simple, another S is from storage, and the third S is from service. So it's S3 storage as well. Okay. Let's see what we have in the slide. So the topics we are going to cover is first of all what is S3 bucket. So then it would be storage types in S3 bucket, which is also a very important topic. Then we have the third topic would be the versioning. The fourth topic which we would be discussing is we would be uploading some objects in the S3 bucket. We would be giving some policies to that. All those things would be discussed in the fourth point. Then we have bucket permissions. We would be seeing bucket permissions, how actually you can make your bucket public. All those things we would be discussing. Don't worry if you don't know the meaning of bucket. Okay, don't worry. I would be discussing what exactly is the meaning of bucket, what exactly is S3, everything in detail. I'm just giving you an index what all would be discussed in this particular lecture. Then the sixth point would be the object life cycle. So what exactly is object life cycle? How we can use S3 to create an object life cycle would be discussed in detail. Then we would be discussing about the replication rule. And the last point would be we would be hosting a static website and we would be making that particular website live on S3 bucket. So, what exactly is S3 bucket? So, as you can see, S3 bucket is a object-based storage. So, let's do a small rewind. Okay, guys. So let's rewind, and we have discussed two types of storages. One was elastic storage. Okay, so one was elastic. Sorry, one was block storage. Okay, and the another was one was the block storage, and where what actually happened was whenever you are copying a particular file into your block storage, let's say your EBS. Okay, so in case of your EBS, what was happened is the object was actually divided into small blocks. Okay, the object was actually divided into small blocks, and the index number was given to each and every block. Now this particular block was uploaded on your EBS storage. So the first block here will get stored here. The second block would be stored here. The third block would be stored here. The fourth block would be stored here. So this is how actually the EBS storage works. But when we talk about the object level storage, so when we talk about object level storage, so what happens is, let's say you have this particular file. Okay, this is a file you have, and what you're doing is basically you want to save this particular file. Let's say this is a 5 GB file. Okay, you want to save this particular file into your S3 bucket. Okay, so you want to save this particular file in your S3 bucket. So this complete file of 5 GB would be saved in S3 bucket. It won't be divided into small blocks. So the complete object would be copied and would be stored in your S3 bucket. So this is a storage level. When we talk about S3 bucket, it is a object level storage. So it is a storage which can be actually accessed from the internet. Something you might have used. Let's say Google Drive. Okay, so Google Drive, we can say that it is actually something which is same or something which is like S3 bucket only in the real time. But for a developer, or if you are into analytics, if you are some technical person, S3 is whole new. It would be a whole new meaning for you. We would be discussing all these things in detail. Okay, so let me just first give you a definition. So, Amazon Simple Storage Service is an object storage service that offer industry leading scalability, data availability, security, and performance. So again, we have already discussed what exactly is. So we have already discussed what exactly is object storage service. So the data is being stored as an object, not as a block. So it is an object level storage. It that offers industry leading scalability. So what do you mean by industry leading scalability? So industry leading scalability is basically, we can say that, let's say you have, right now you have a database of 5, let's say you have a file of 5 GB. Now with time you are actually updating that particular file, and now that particular file is of now 15 GB. Now with the help of S3 you can actually store this 15 GB as well. So there is no limit to it. You can store as much as you can. There is a scalability, automatically it gets scaled. You need to pay for the space you are using. If you are using 15 GB, you need to pay for 15 GB. If you are using 5 GB, it would be lesser. In the case of 5 GB, you need to pay for 5 GB in that particular case. Now, data availability. So, in the case of data availability, what actually happens is, let's say you want a particular data. So, the uptime of this S3 bucket is 99.9%. So, what do you mean by 99.9%? Is like if you are trying to access your S3 bucket at any point from anywhere in the world, your data would be available. Okay. Now, security is completely, you actually define the securities. We would be discussing that in detail. We would be actually seeing how actually a security is being defined, how we can make our bucket private, how we can actually make our bucket public. All those things should be discussed in detail. Performance is a very high performance. You get a very good performance. Speed you can control. You can actually control the type of storages. All those things would be discussed. So let's say if you want, let's say if you have a particular data which you don't need frequently. Okay, there might be a possibility, there might be a cases where you don't need your particular data frequently. So there is a type of storage for that as well. So you can actually store that particular data on S3 Glacier. I would be discussing that. Don't worry about it. So this is like, it's a kind of S3 in the S3. When we talk about S3 bucket, there is a segregation where there are different type of storages as per the amount you can actually pay, as per your requirement. All those things are there. This means customer of all sizes and industries can use it to store and protect, okay, any amount of data for range of use cases. So definitely, if there is a, if you have a file, let's say of 5 GB, and sorry, so and you have a file of, let's say, 10 GB, and then you have a third file of, let's say, 15 GB. All those files can be stored in a single S3. I'm not talking, let's say, S3 bucket. So okay, so you can actually store this particular all the files into a single S3 bucket. So if you want to actually, if you have a file for a website, you can actually host that particular thing, mobile applications, or whatever it is. If you have some database, if you want to analyze some database, you can actually use S3 bucket to store that particular data. Okay, guys. So let me erase all the ink here. So so now let's do a small, like let me just give you a small brief again, so that you don't actually forget the things. So when we create, how a particular bucket is actually, how you display a particular bucket. So it's being, S3 is being displayed by this particular way. Okay, you need to show it as a bucket. Okay, so don't think it like you can actually fill your objects here. Okay, you can actually fill your objects here. There's one important point, guys. I just wanted to highlight that particular point is basically, when we talk about S3 bucket, it is not a root storage. Okay, so it's not a root storage. So what do you understand by root storage? Okay, this is very important. So when we discuss EC2 bucket, okay, so when we discuss about EC2 bucket, I told you that an EBS storage or your instance storage. Okay, I hope you know the difference between an EBS or and the instance storage. So when we have a EBS and instance storage, they are the root storage. Like for example, what is a root storage? Where you can actually install your operating system. So in case of root storage, you can actually install your operating system. So let's say you are installing Windows Server. So you are using Windows Server and you are installing, let's say, Windows. So in that particular case, your Windows would be installed in your root storage, not into your S3 bucket. Just remember this, and this is very, very important. In the case of S3, you can actually just consider it. Let's say you have a laptop. Okay, so there's a laptop, there's a storage inside the laptop, which can be recognized as a EBS storage. But whereas you have, let's say you have a hard disk. Okay, so that particular hard disk is let's say you connected that particular hard disk, or let's say your read drive, that could be considered as your S3 bucket. Okay, not the read drive, your hard disk can be considered as a S3 storage. Why we can consider that particular thing as a S3 storage? Because you cannot install your root there. It cannot be considered as a root storage. You cannot install your operating system there. So this is something which is very important and you need to remember that thing. So let's discuss some important points about S3 bucket. Okay, so whenever let's say you have this S3 bucket, okay, you have this S3 bucket, you have stored of, let's say you own a particular school and you have some attendance data. So you're actually uploading your uh, attendance file here. So you have, let's say, every day you are uploading your attendance file with the name, let's say 13 June, whatever it is, XLS. So the date would be there and you are actually uploading that particular data. Due to some reason, this is deleted. Okay, so what happens if a particular S3 bucket is deleted? So in that particular case, we do have a versioning. Okay, so but now what I will just tell you what exactly Amazon does for you is basically Amazon creates three copies of your bucket. Okay, in various, let's say this is in availability zone 1. So the first copy would be created in availability zone 2, the second copy would be created in availability zone 3, the third copy would be created in availability zone, let's say, 4. Okay, so whatever it is, wherever it is, the three availability in the three availability zones, the copies would be created. Okay, so this is something which is very important for your disaster recovery. You have your every time you have your backups ready and you can actually use those backups. Now there might be one question which you might be thinking, what if there is a one bucket? Okay, we have one bucket. Okay, can we store this is a, let's say this is a bucket 1 and there is one more bucket which we can actually keep it as bucket 2. Okay, so can we store this bucket 2 inside a bucket 1? So something like this. Can we do this? Okay, can we? This is the bucket 1, and inside this bucket we have a bucket 2. Okay, can we actually um, put a second bucket inside the first bucket? So this is not possible, guys. You need to remember this. You cannot put a single bucket, a particular bucket inside another bucket. These two would be independent. You can put objects into it. Okay, you can even put the same objects into it. Whatever you want to do, you can do it, but you cannot put one bucket into the another. Okay, now uh, we have to, like, let's discuss one more thing. So this is the bucket and this is, let's say, the owned by, let's say, Aman. Okay, so this is a particular bucket which is being owned by Aman. Now, I went there. Okay, so I'm Akshat, and this is my bucket second. And Aman wants to transfer this bucket, the ownership of this particular bucket, to Akshat. Is this possible? No, it is not possible. You cannot transfer the ownership of a particular bucket. In that particular case, either you need to do a replication. We would be discussing that. Don't worry about it. You need to copy the objects and you need to paste it into this bucket. So there are various methods to do it. We would be discussing that. Don't worry about it. Okay. So let's go into the lab and let's check what we can actually do. So now we are in the lab. Okay, so you just need to log into your management console, and what you need to do is what you will do is you need to search either S3 or simple storage service. Okay, so let's click on S3 bucket here. So you might find some bucket which are already being created. We won't be using any of these buckets. We would be creating a new bucket, and the first point would be, let's see how we can create a particular bucket where we would be storing our objects. Okay, so we need to just go to the create bucket. Here you need to remember one point: the bucket name, it need to be universally unique. So let's say if you have put, let's say, a name with bucket, okay, and if there is another bucket which is being created, let's say in Mumbai, or let's say in Ohio, anywhere, okay, if that bucket name is already exists, you cannot create a particular bucket. Okay, so your bucket name should be globally unique. Let me just scroll down and let me just create a bucket. See, bucket name with the same name already exists, because the bucket need to be globally unique. This bucket name will not work. So let me just keep another name. Okay, bucket. Okay, 12. Let's say, okay, so this bucket does not like the bucket with this particular name does not exist. So now AWS region. So here you can actually select where you want to keep your bucket. Generally, we actually keep our bucket very close to our location. So let's say my office is in Mumbai, or let's say my office is in Ohio. So I will prefer creating my bucket in Ohio rather than creating in some another region like Mumbai or somewhere like that. Okay, I won't be doing it. I would be creating my bucket near my proximity where my location is there. So let's say currently I'm in Mumbai, so I will prefer creating my bucket in Mumbai. So what is this choose bucket? So here when you click here, what it says is basically there will be some configurations which are set for Akshat, let's say Akshat 9090 or Akshat Gupta 12. So there would be some configuration which might be there for these buckets. If you want to copy all the say, you want to copy these configuration and you want to create a bucket. Let's say, for example, uh, this bucket Akshat 09090 is a public bucket. Okay, anybody from the world can actually access this particular bucket. So what if you select this particular bucket from here and you choose this particular bucket, only the configuration would be copied. So this bucket which we have created right now, which the name of the bucket is bucket dash testing 12, this particular bucket will also be universally globally basically public. Okay, so the configuration would be copied, not the content. Okay, so here if let's say currently this bucket is totally private. If we want to actually convert this bucket to public or change the bucket configuration to public, we can very well go and deselect this particular tick mark and the bucket would now be public. So but let's keep it private as of now. We would be, after creating the bucket, we would be changing it to the public. Okay, now, bucket versioning, I would be discussing bucket versioning in detail. For now, let's keep it disabled. We can actually convert it and change it to enable after creating the bucket. That too is possible. So we would be doing it that particular point of time. Okay, so let's keep, we don't want any tags right now. We don't want any default, we don't want any encryptions. So let's go ahead and create a bucket. Okay, so we have created a bucket with the name bucket testing. So this is our bucket which is being created. Okay, so this is our actually the bucket which is being created. Now, how we would be how we can actually upload a particular object into this bucket. So guys, can you see this upload button here? So you need to select this upload button, click on add files. Now let's say we want to select a particular file. Okay, this is, let's say, 5-star rated. This is a file we want to select. Okay, this is an image file which is in PNG format. So destination would be our S3 bucket. Okay, so this would be our destination. Let's go and upload it. Close it. Okay, so this particular image is now being uploaded. Okay, can you see this image? This particular image is now being uploaded. When we try, let's click on this image and let's see if we are able to access this image via our internet or not. Okay, so this is an object URL. Let's copy this object URL, or you can actually click on this button. Okay, your object URL would be copied. Okay, let's click and paste it here. Now it shows access denied. What do you mean by access denied in this particular case? Access denied is basically this, since this bucket is not public, or we can say the object is also not public, this we cannot access this file. Okay, so what we would be doing is we would be creating a different scenarios, and we would be checking if we are actually able to access bucket and how we are able to access the bucket. Okay, so what we would be doing first is, okay, so the first point would be, okay, the first point would be, we would be first, the bucket would be private and object public. So we first, what we will try to do is, these are the case scenarios. Okay guys, you don't have to think that this works. We are just testing it whether this will work or not. So the bucket, what we are doing is, the bucket we are making we will be keeping it as a private, and we would try to convert the object as public. So let's see what happens in this particular case. Second would be, let's keep a scenario where we would be making our bucket public, and we would be keeping our object as private. Okay. Third scenario would be, we would be making our bucket public, and we would be making our object public. Okay. So let's consider this thing. Okay. Let's consider this with an example. Okay. You have a house. Okay. This is your house. Okay. This is your house. And this is your mm, here there is a gate outside your house. Okay. Somebody can actually enter with this particular gate, and some need to enter from here, and he can then enter it inside your house. So this is your main gate. So this is your main gate, and this is your home gate. Okay, HG. Now just consider this as a bucket. So this is a bucket, this is a scenario where you can actually, somebody can enter inside your house. If your main door is closed, okay, so if your main door is closed, nobody can, if this is open, okay, I'm saying that, okay, this HG is open, your house gate is open, somebody is trying to access your home, so he won't be able to enter it because your main gate is closed. Okay, your main gate is closed, he won't be able to access it. Let's say if we open this main gate, okay, if we open this main gate, the people would be able to enter it. Okay, some people will be standing here, somebody, a guest would be standing here. Okay, now this, if you don't open this particular HG, you can say it as an object. Okay, so if you don't open this object, the person won't be able to get in. So what we need to do is, we need to open this as well, and as well as this. You need to open your bucket as well as the object. Both of them you need to open, so as to ensure that person enters, or person is able to access the object inside your house. If this is open, this is closed. Again, if this is open and this is closed, you won't be, somebody won't be able to access the objects. In this particular case, if let's say you have 100 objects, okay, inside your bucket, you can actually make some object as a private and some as a public. In this particular case, this might happen, but this particular scenario is actually not possible. We would be seeing that this particular scenario in the lab, so that everything is crystal clear for us. Okay. Now we have already created this particular bucket. Okay, let's again come back to the bucket testing. Okay, so now what we would be doing, the first case is basically our bucket is private. We will try to make this object public. So how we can actually make our object public is just select your object, go to the actions. Okay, now here you will find make public. When you scroll down, you will find make public. Just click here. Okay, now you will find an error. Yeah, here is the error. The error is basically why you have received this particular error is your object, what it does say is basically your bucket is not public, guys. You need to ensure that your bucket is public. You need to ensure this particular thing. This is very, very important. You need to ensure, if you want to make a object public, you need to ensure that your bucket is also a public. Okay, so this scenario is not possible. Let's cross it now. So this is the first scenario is not possible. Okay, let's see about what is our second scenario. Can we make a bucket public and object as a private? So first we have to discuss how we can actually make a bucket public. So what we would be doing here is we would be, let's close this off, go to the permissions. Okay, now block public access. We have to go to the edit here and just deselect this thing and click on save. Now you need to just click on confirm here. Now guys, your object, okay, your object, uh, currently we have not defined our objects, okay, what the behavior of our object, but we have defined it for a bucket. Now our bucket is open, so the main gate, the main door or the outside gate of your house is now open. Okay, now this particular file is there. Let's see if we can actually make this particular file public. Before that, let's first complete this particular scenario where our object is private. So let's see if we are able to access this particular file or not. Let me just copy this. I've already copied this. Let me select this. Okay, now my bucket is public but my object is private. Still I'm not able to access this particular object. Okay, fine. Let's again come back to my bucket testing. Here, what I will do is, this is also, I cannot, in this second scenario also, I cannot, I cannot access the objects. But this is possible. Okay, the third scenario, let's discuss the third scenario, which was the public, bucket is public and object is also public. So let's discuss this. Okay, so let's select this particular object. You need to go to the action. You need to remember this thing. You need to go to the action. Just scroll down and make this public. Okay, so let's click on the public. You can see a success message on the top. Now our bucket is public and the object is also public now. So let's select this. Let's open this and let me just copy this object URL. Okay, I'm able to access this particular image. Earlier there was this error. Let me just refresh this. Okay, so I'm able to access this. Now in this particular scenario, when we talk about this object, okay, so in this particular thing is public access is granted. Okay, so you need to remember this thing. This is very important, and these are some of the scenarios which could be created. Okay. So the next topic which we would be discussing is versioning. Okay, so let's discuss the versioning in detail. Now, let me go to the bucket testing again. So here, what we would be doing is, let's say why versioning, like first let's discuss why versioning is required and why we would be using versioning and how a versioning is actually being used and why basically is versioning so important for us. Okay, so let's understand versioning first. So now we would be discussing about S3 bucket versioning. Okay, so let's discuss on S3 bucket. Okay, so what exactly do you understand and what do we understand by bucket versioning? Okay, so let's consider an particular example and let's understand this bucket versioning with the help of a particular example. Okay, so uh, yeah, so let's say you have a bucket. Okay, so let's say that you have a bucket and the bucket name is let's keep my name only. Okay, so we have a bucket of let's say 900. Okay, so you have a bucket with the name Akshat 0900. This particular bucket, I own a particular, let's say, a university or a school where I'm actually uploading an attendance sheet. Okay, so let's say today is let's say on 1st July the sheet was uploaded and I just gave the work to my one of my staff, or let's say what she was doing is basically she was putting the name. Okay, so attendance 1st July dot xls, something like that. But due to some reason she forget or whatever thing happened, she was actually after 1st July she was actually uploading only this particular sheet. Okay, so what was happened is this attendance.xls has the attendance for 1st July. This attendance.xls again has the attendance of 2nd July. Okay, for the next date. Now when she upload this particular attendance on 1st July, it will have the attendance for 1st July 2021. But when it was uploaded on 2nd July with the same name, the file which is there in S3 bucket, it would be updated. So let's say let's see what exactly happened in 1st July. Okay, on 1st July 2021 I have attendance sheet. Okay, so I have attendance sheet which has a data of 1st July. Okay, so attendance is of 1st July. Now on the 2nd July, okay, either what you need to do is she need to or he need to basically change the name of the file, or if he or she actually forget that particular name, or let's say I only forget the particular name, to change the name and upload with the same this particular name only, this particular file would be overwrite. There would be an overwrite which will happen on this particular file. Now my 1st July attendance sheet would be gone, and let's say after a month or 15 days, if let's say I want the file with 1st July attendance file with the 1st July, it won't be there because there would be an overwritten. Okay, so my file would be gone, and when I open this attendance.xls, it would have the latest attendance date. Okay, latest attendance sheet. So my work is gone, my all my effort is gone. So how will I basically cope up with that particular kind of accidents? So so here bucket versioning comes into the picture. So what exactly is a bucket versioning? Bucket versioning is a S3 bucket sub resource used to protect against accidental object deletion or override. So this is the first scenario when there is an override. Let's say this particular file is deleted. Now, if I want this particular file, okay, so how will I get it? How will I get it? This file is deleted. This is not deleted via some disaster or some any kind of issues. Okay, this I have manually deleted. When I manually delete, I delete the backups as well. So I don't have the backup for this file. What will happen in this particular scenario? In this particular scenario, when we see the attendance.xls, in this particular scenario my backup is gone. But if let's say I have enabled versioning, okay, my versioning is enabled, so I have enabled versioning. So what will happen in this particular case? There would be a something like there would be this the backup file would be created, and the version of a backup file would be created. So versioning is creating a version. Okay, when we talk about versioning, it's a version would be created, something like a recycle bin. Okay, so you might all remember there's a recycle bin in your laptop. So whenever you delete a particular file, okay, whenever you delete a particular file, it goes into a recycle bin where it actually stores your file. Now when you have to enter this particular into this particular recycle bin, and you need to actually restore this particular file, and it would be automatically restored. So When in the case of bucket versioning, if you delete a file, there would be a delete marker which would be created. Okay, so there would be a delete marker which would be created, and you need to delete this delete marker. Okay, you need to delete the delete marker to actually get restored your particular file. Okay, so we would be doing this in lab. You would be, it would be more clear. Okay, after that particular thing. Okay, and there's one more very important thing I want to discuss. When when you actually enable, okay, let's say you have enabled a particular bucket versioning. Okay, let's say you have enabled it today. After 5 days, let's say you want to actually disable that particular versioning, so you won't be finding that particular option. You can only suspend your bucket versioning. You cannot disable your bucket versioning. You can only you can only suspend your bucket versioning. So only there is an option. There is only one option. You can only suspend your bucket versioning. That's it. Okay, guys. So let's get into the lab and let's see what all we have, like or what actually we would be first enabling the versioning into our S3 bucket, and then we would be moving ahead with it. Okay. So we are at our particular lab. Okay, so here we have, like, we are in my S3 bucket. Here you can just, can you find this properties? You need to go to the properties. There you will find bucket versioning. Okay, you need to first go to the properties. There you need to go to bucket versioning. You can just click edit here, and you can enable your versioning. Okay, and you can save it. Now your bucket versioning is enabled. Okay, so bucket versioning is now enabled. If you try to disable it, you cannot find a disable option here. Only you can suspend your bucket versioning. Let's see how this bucket versioning is useful for us. Okay. Okay, so guys, there is one point which is being added here. Okay, this is like show version, which is a point which is being added here. So let's click on the show versions. Okay, so let's do one thing. Let me just upload one or two more objects into this, and let's do it after that. Okay, so let's go to AWS labs only, and let's do some, let me add just some points here. Okay, so let me just upload two PDF files. Okay, now let's close it. Now here I have uploaded three different files here. Let me just delete one file. Okay, so first what I have discussed with you is basically when we delete a particular file, I can actually restore my file. Okay, so you just need to click on delete. Let's delete a file. Okay, my file is gone. There is no way, see, can you see? Okay, my file is actually gone. Okay, my file is gone. I cannot find my particular file. Let me just refresh it and so show it to you. My file is gone. Okay, now if I want to restore my particular file, what I need to do is, here is, can you see this show versions? You just need to click on show versions here. Okay, so we have, let's say, what file we have deleted was elastic cloud compute.pdf. Okay, so there would be a PDF file here, and there would be a delete marker. Since this file is deleted, a delete marker would be created on this particular file. So what we would be doing is we would be selecting this particular file here, and we would be deleting. We won't be selecting the file, we would be selecting the delete marker, and then we would be deleting this particular file. Okay, so let me just write permanently. Okay, so let's delete it. Now let's see if we are able to restore our particular file or not. My file is now restored, guys. Okay, so this is how actually we do it. Now there's one more thing which was left out and I wanted to discuss with you. You might remember that we have actually in my bucket is currently public. So whatever objects I'm uploading onto my bucket, are these objects public or private? So let's we have actually uploaded this particular file in the later stages. So let's see if this object is public or the private. So my file is my bucket is public and I'm uploading an object after making my bucket public. So let's see what happens in this particular case. You will see an error. Okay, so why this is an error is basically whenever after your bucket is public, also whenever you try to upload any objects into your bucket, it will automatically be converted, it would be a private object. Okay, then you have to either change it manually or we can change some permissions there. We would be discussing that like in the coming session. So let's do one thing. Let's go to this service quotas and go to action, scroll down and make it public. Okay. So let's make it this file public. Now my file is now public. Let's see if we are able to access this file or not. Okay. So I have actually opened. Let me just refresh it. So I'm able to open this particular file. Okay. This is an AWS sheet. So this is how actually you can enable versioning and some of the benefits of enabling the versioning. Okay, so versioning is very important for your exam point of view, when you're going for certification in the real time, when you're working for your databases. Versioning is very important. Okay guys, so now we would be discussing on the topic. Okay, so now we would be discussing on the storage classes which is being given by Amazon S3. Okay, so let me just come back to the presentation. So these are some of the storage classes which is being given by Amazon S3. Okay, so yeah, so we would be discussing all these storages one by one so that we are able to actually understand these storages, what's the use of these storages and why these storages are being used. Okay, so as we know, S3 bucket can be used. Okay, when we talk about S3 bucket, it can be used for multiple purposes. Let's say you can use your S3 bucket to store your any dead objects. Okay, so you can store your some old data. Okay, you if you want, let's say you want to store let's say you want to analyze some data. For to analyze it, analyze the data, to analyze that particular data, you have kept your database files into your S3 bucket. A team can come there and access that S3 bucket to actually analyze your data. That too is possible. Let's say you own a particular music company. Okay, you're, let's say you are the owner of a music company and you have some music files which are not being accessed much, or it's like a music which was created in 1940s 1930, which currently in 2021 nobody is listening. So that particular files where currently nobody is accessing that particular file right now. So definitely there would be multiple reasons why you would need S3 bucket. But do you think for this purpose also, you, let's say the charge is $500 a month. Okay, so $500 a month. For this also, are you would be paying, do you want, do would you like to pay $500 a month? Or for this particular files which are not, you are not using, nobody is listening to your songs which is being released in 1930, would you be paying $500 a month for the same? No, you won't be doing that guys, so you won't be doing that. The reason being, the file which are not being used now, the content which is not being used now, you won't need that particular content. Okay, you won't be paying, you won't be putting your resources, your money onto the content which is not being used. Okay, so definitely your budget would be only $50 or $10 or $100, whatever it is, whatever is the size of your files. Okay, I'm just giving an overview, an example. So you won't be paying that much onto this particular files. Okay, so for to bring this after putting this particular thing in consideration, the various storage types was created. Okay, so these are the 6 storage types. We would be discussing each storage type in detail and we would be checking how this is being used in S3 bucket. Okay. So when we talk about, okay, okay, I'm so sorry. So yeah. So when we talk about S3 standard, Okay, so when we talk about S3 standard, so this is the standard storage. Whenever you upload an object, it goes into the standard storage. So here in this accessing charges, okay, so when we talk about this S3 standard, the accessing charges are more. Okay, so accessing charges. Okay, so here accessing charges are less. So if you want to access the files which are being kept there in your S3 bucket, the accessing charges are less, but your storage charges are more. Very fast, 99.9% uptime, very fast. You won't be facing any issues with S3 standard. It is high durable, which it gives you high performance, high throughput. Everything is high. You won't be facing any issues with standard. Okay, S3 standard. Now let's come to the second storage, which is S3 intelligent tiering. So what exactly is S3 intelligent tiering? Is basically what it does, it optimizes the cost by moving the data to cost effective access tier in the case of usage or non-usage. So let's take an example. Okay, so let's say you have enabled S3 intelligent tiering. Now there is an object. Okay, so let's consider there is an object which is O1, there is another object which is O2, and there is another object which is O3. Okay, now this after 90 days you have not access. This is kept in let's say intelligent tiering. So intelligent tiering have kept it in S3 standard. So after 90 days, let's say nobody have actually accessed this particular file, and this is being regularly being accessed. This is accessed in every 15 days. Okay, so what happens in this particular case is, in case of intelligent tiering, it's not being accessed regularly. So what will happen is basically this will automatically be transferred to a cheap storage. Okay, so the cheap storage is S3 Glacier storage, which is a cheaper storage. So it would be automatically transferred to a cheap storage, and after let's say somebody try to access this object one, automatically it would be transferred to a good storage, which let's say is S3 standard. Okay, so automatically the transfer of storage used to happen. So automatically, let's say it's in standard, it's not being used much, it would be transferred to Glacier. Glacier is a very cheap storage. Cheap means like it is a slow storage, and you don't have to pay much to use this particular storage. And so this is very cheap storage, and Deep Glacier is the cheapest one. Okay, so Deep Archive basically. So S3 Glacier Deep Archive is the cheapest storage. I would be discussing about Deep Archive as well. So intelligent is basically it has brains. Automatically, it will try to reduce the cost automatically by moving into various storages as per your usage. Okay. So now let's come to S3 standard IA. So IA is basically infrequent access. Okay. So standard IA is, let's say you have a object one. So let's say OBB, OB, OB1. Okay. So this is an object you have, and you have this object OB2. Now, let's say you are not accessing in every 15 days you are using this particular file. You are not using this file or you this object every day, or you are using in every 30 days, whatever the time period is. If you are using that particular file in every 15 days or 30 days, you can actually, and not regularly, like if you are not using that particular file every day, you are using in a very slow pace. So you can actually keep it in S3 standard IA. So what exactly is standard IA is basically, this is again the very fast storage, but the charges in the case of usage. So when you use it, so usage charges, okay, usage charges are high. Okay, when we talk about the usage charges, they are high, accessing charges would be high, but the storage charges would be less. Would be less. You can just note these things down. Okay, so when we talk about storage type, we have S3 standard storage where the accessing charges are less, but the storage charges are more. S3 intelligent, which is actually the intelligent one, the the S3 tiering, which have a brains, basically automatically it transfer from one storage to another, one storage type to another as per your usage. When we talk about S3 standard IA, which is infrequent access, automatically uh, automatically in this particular case it is again very fast, but in this particular case usage charges are high. Okay, so if you are using a particular, this object one is using, you are using it every day, this would be very costly for you guys. So it would be very costly. You have to, like, you need to put up your brain that which in which storage type would be useful for you. So the usage charges, the accessing charges are very high, but the storage charges are very less. So they are like, if you're not using it regularly, you can use the standard IA in that particular case. Now, when we talk about one zone IA, S3 storage, one zone IA. So what exactly is S3 storage, one zone IA? So whenever, like, in all these three above, there were three backups was created. Okay, so three backup was created. Okay, so now when we talk about S3 one zone IA, we don't have any backup. Okay, so there is no backup which is being created. And let's say you have some movies, let's say, okay, so let's consider an example. You have some movies or you have some songs, okay, which are not that important. If they are lost also, you can download them again. Okay, there are so many methods by which you can actually download the files. So if you don't have any backup, if your file is not that important, you can actually keep it in one zone IA. So if your file is lost also, you have, let's say you have stored somewhere else, that if you have some backup at somewhere, some another location also, you can keep it in one zone IA. Again, since the three backups for a particular, let's say you have a file of 1 GB and the three backups are created, the file size will be 4 GB, because 3 GB would be added for your backup. So you have to pay for 4 GB in that particular case. But in the case of one zone IA, you just need to pay for 1 GB. That's it. That's the most important part. Your pricing would be reduced by one third. So this is very, very important. Now, when we talk about Glacier, so let's say you have some very old data. Okay, you have some data which is not at all important. Okay, not at all important. So let's take an example of let's say you are a company. Okay, you are you are a, let's say you are a school. Okay, so you own a school. Okay, this is a school which you own. Okay, you every day your teachers upload the student attendance. Okay, so every day the teacher upload the student attendance into your S3 bucket. Now let's say after 5 years, the students who are in like first standard, second standard, 10th standard, whatever it is, it won't be accessed. Nobody, like, there are very rare of the rarest chances where in which the parent will come to the school and ask for the attendance sheet of 5 years, like 5 years old attendance sheet. That would be very rare. So you can actually keep it in S3 Glacier. So the object which won't be accessed much, they are not that important. You can actually keep it in S3 Glacier. There's one important point here. It might, if you want to access some data from Glacier, it might take from few minutes to even 12 hours. So this is possible. And generally in glaciers they use magnetic tapes. So we have already discussed about magnetic tapes. So generally on the back end they use that particular kind of thing. So it's something which is cheap. Again, when we talk about the cheapest one, this is the cheapest one. You need to remember this thing. The cheapest is S3 Glacier Deep Archive. Okay. So let's say it's the cheapest one. You have to keep the data which is not that important. All the data which is not important, you have to keep it in the S3 Glacier Deep Archive. Okay, so in this particular case, it on like it even takes 1 hour to 12 hours to actually access your data and to extract your data. Okay, so let's go into the lab and let's see what we have, like how we can actually use this particular standard S3 and how we can actually transfer, create a life cycle of our, so how we can actually create a life cycle of our object. So this is an object one. So what we would be doing is like after 90 days, if we are not using this object, it would automatically be transferred to, let's say, standard IA. Okay, so automatically it would be transferred to standard IA. So in after standard IA, if I'm not using it for 90 days again, it would be automatically transferred to glacier. So this is how you can actually, yeah, this is how you can create a particular life cycle. Or 190 days is very less, we can use 180 days. So if you are not using for 180 days, automatically it would be transferred to glacier. So automatically your budget control happens in the case of AWS. This is very important. Okay, you just need to create a life cycle and rest all AWS will do for you. Okay, so guys, let's move to the lab now. Okay, so this is our bucket. Okay, so this I will get it by clicking on Amazon S3 and then selecting my bucket. Here you need to go to the management. Okay, when you go to a management, this is all I have already created. Let me just disable this rule. Okay, yes. Now what I will do is I would be creating a life cycle rule wherein what it will do is basically it will transit my bucket. Okay, so whatever the, let's say if there is some particular objects I want to transfer, or it's, let's say, I want to transfer all the objects into the, if I'm not using a particular objects into the bucket, from the bucket, after 90 days it would be automatically transferred. I can actually decide those days, it would be automatically be transferred to another storage type. So let's do that particular lab, and let's you need to scroll down and you need to click on create life cycle rule. Let's put any life cycle rule. Okay, so let me just put my name here, and you can put some relevant, okay, let's put some relevant life cycle rule name here. So S3 bucket object transition. Okay, so what I can do is basically either if I want to put it for particular objects, I can do that, or else what I can do is I can put it on all the objects on the bucket. Okay, so that I can actually do. So there would be some five action rules which are there in your life cycle. Okay. So first, let's say it's a transition current versions of the object. So all the current versions of the objects would be, there will transitions will happen between the storage classes. So if there are some previous versions, that too is possible. If you want to expire some current versions of the object, you can do it. Let's say if you want to, after 90 days or 180 days or 360 days, or after 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, whatever it is, you want to delete an object. Okay, so what you want is after 5 years my object get automatically deleted. So that too you can create. You don't have to then manually go and delete the objects. Automatically after 5 years, automatically your file would be deleted. If you want to delete the delete markers after a certain period of time, you can actually do it. Okay, let's scroll down and let's select this. Okay, so let's select the current version of object between the storage classes. So what we would be doing here is after 90 days. Okay, so after 90 days, what I want is my object. Okay, my object need to be automatically be transferred to standard IA. Standard IA is infrequent access, where my storage charges are very less. Okay, so in case of infrequent access, my storage charges are less, whereas accessing charges are more. Since I'm not using it for a long time, I can definitely put it in standard IA. So let's put it after 90 days, automatically it need to be moved to standard IA. But standard IA is again costly. If I'm not using it, let's say for 180 more days, okay, so around 1 year, I'm not using it, that file is not at all important for me. So what I can do is I can move it to Glacier then. Okay, after 180 days, the file would automatically be moved. The object would automatically be moved to a Glacier. Glacier is very cheap, so you don't have to worry about the amount and all those things. It's cheap storage, so it's not a problem with you. Okay, so just click on I acknowledge this thing. So here what we can see is basically the current versions of the actions. Day 0, the objects are uploaded. At the day 90, after 90 days, objects would be moved to standard IA if you are not using them. uh, After 180 days, object would be transited to Glacier. Okay, let's create a rule. Now the rule is being created, and we can just go ahead and check our rule. Go to the management again. Okay, so this is enabled. Okay, so this is what we have created. So the current version is transition to standard IA then to Glacier. So it's perfectly fine. We can use it. Okay. So guys, next topic which we would be discussing is cross-region replication. So let me just show it to you what exactly is cross-region replication and why you need it. Okay. Okay. So let's say you have your office in Ohio. Okay, so you have your office in Ohio. So this is your office, and let's say you have a company, okay, which is an e-commerce company, and you have around like you every day you are uploading about, let's say, 1 million data. Okay, and approximately the S3 bucket has 100 million data into it. Okay, in it. So basically, and you are in Mumbai. Okay, let's say a company in Mumbai, and this company, e-commerce company, have given a project to this Mumbai company to actually handle all kind of analytics for them. Okay, so there is an analytics which is required by which would this particular Mumbai company would be doing. For that, they need to access this particular data. So now, if this particular person is sitting in Mumbai, okay, and he's trying to access the bucket S3 bucket, which is there in Ohio. Okay, so this bucket is there in Ohio, and he's trying to access this bucket again and again. The IOPS would be very low because it need to the data he need to access is around 200 or 2000 or 5000 miles away from him. So again, it will take him some additional time to actually access the data and execute the queries. Okay, so to avoid that kind of lag, which comes the latency. Okay, so that particular latency which comes up due to the distance, the issues of the distance and all those things. So what would be done in this particular case is we would be creating a new S3 bucket in Mumbai. Okay, and whatever this e-commerce company is uploading into this S3 bucket, okay, whatever this company is uploading this S3 bucket, it would automatically be uploaded automatically be uploaded into this S3 bucket which is based in Mumbai. So what actually is happening is cross region. So there are two region replication. So a replication, a mirror image of this particular S3 bucket which is in Ohio would be created in Mumbai also. Okay, so there is a cross region replication which is happening. So in two different places, automatically the replication of S3 bucket will happen. Okay, so let's do it in the lab. Let's see how this is done in the real-time scenarios. Okay, so let's go to the lab. Okay, now again let's go to the object. Okay, we are in my bucket testing 12. Okay, so what we would be doing is let's see. Okay, so this bucket testing 12 is created in Asia Pacific Mumbai. And let's do one thing. Let's replicate this object into ANA bucket. Okay, this is the bucket which I might have created earlier. So let me just empty this particular bucket. There are already no objects in ANA bucket. So this is the bucket. Okay, so there are no objects in ANA bucket. So now what would be I would be doing is I would be replicating my bucket testing 12 which is in Mumbai to ANA bucket which is in Ohio. Okay, so let me just go to this my bucket testing. Okay, now I will go to the management. There when I scroll down I can create a replication rule. Okay, so let's see how this replication rule works. So for that you need to create a replication rule here. Okay, so for this you need to put some rule configuration rule name. So let's put a replication to ANA bucket. Okay, so whatever is there in your bucket testing would be replicated and would be transferred to ANA's bucket. Okay, so let me just keep it as default enabled. Okay, so the source bucket is basically the bucket from which the transfer will happen is bucket testing 12, which is kept in Asia Pacific Mumbai. And what will happen is what I want is basically I want to apply this particular rule to all the objects. So I would be selecting this rule applies to all the objects in the bucket. So my destination. So if I can actually choose another the bucket which is there in another account as well. For that I need to have the account ID. For which that I'm using one of my friend's account. That's why here Krishna is written. So here this is my account ID. So I can use this account ID. I can use my bucket name and destination here. So what I will do is I don't want that. So I would be just putting my bucket name. So let me just put Anna bucket 90 and choose a path. Okay. So now this is very important. If you want to create a replication rule, you need to ensure your versioning is enabled in both the buckets. Okay, it need to be enabled in both the buckets. Here I have already enabled in this bucket. That's why it has not given me the error. But in this it was not enabled. That's why it has given me an error and asked me to enable it. Why we need bucket versioning? Because see, if there is a replication will happen, there might be some overrides. Okay, it might be some there might be some like data loss or anything might happen in that particular case. So now with the help of bucket versioning, all those things could be avoided. Okay. If I want to create an IAM role, I can create it. I will just create a new IAM role. Automatically, a new IAM role would be created. Okay, so I won't be changing anything. Okay, if I want to the storage class, if let's say I want to in my replication, okay, in my the final bucket, okay, so in my the destination bucket, if I want to store it in some other storage class, let's say I want to store in IA or I want to store in Glacier, so that too I can just click here and select that particular storage. Okay, so I won't be using it as of now, and let me just save it. It will take some time. So now yeah, it's being done now. So let me just open this and let me again go to the management, and let me, when I scroll down, it's enabled. So replication rule name is here, the status is enabled, my destination bucket is Anna's bucket, which is in Ohio. Entire bucket would be transferred. Okay, so let me just try it with let me upload some objects and let's see what happens. Add a file here. Let me just upload something out of it. Okay, let me upload a ppt file. Okay, so let me just upload it. Now it's being uploaded. Now this file, okay, so whatever I'm uploading after enabling my replication rule, that only files would be copied and saved into Anna's bucket. All these three files, okay, this was the old files, these won't be saved. Okay, these won't be saved into the another bucket. For this you need to copy these files and actually you need to paste it in another bucket. Okay, so this is what you need to do. Okay, so this file, it will take some time. Let's see if this file is now saved into Anna's bucket. So yeah, the file is there. Okay, guys, I hope you can see the file is there. It's being saved into the Anna's bucket now. So this is how you can actually enable your replication rule. One important point, if I delete the file from Anna's bucket, okay, this is my destination bucket, nothing will be affected. Okay, if I delete the file from here, it won't be deleted from your source bucket. Okay, if I delete the file from uh, S3 bucket, if I delete the file from your the source bucket, it won't be deleted from here. So these both files are totally now independent on each other. Okay, the buckets are only dependent on each other. Only the independent files are only the independent file actually. The files are totally independent on each other. Okay, guys.